I didn't know how this was going to go this morning because it's a subject I've been talking to you around, and I've hit it a few times, but I I've pulled back from it with talking to people and even to you because it is so it's out of this world.
Hmm.
And my plan, I didn't tell you this, but we talked about the plan. I just didn't tell you that it was my plan, which seemed to be consistent with your plan too,
Yeah.
was to build a foundation for people, showing them things about the Word of God that they don't know, most
Hmm.
likely.
Hmm.
And that when you go to preaching, teaching, hearing, whatever, um, people don't address these things directly. Once in a while, somebody will touch on some of these subjects. I
Mm.
don't think they realize what they're talking about, but they know there's something significant and that it's true. And people they bounce around. And I I just I when I've been listening to the news a little bit lately, and there's one thing I've told you for years that mankind really only has one problem. Solve this one problem, all the rest of them are solved.
Hmm.
And that is all the fake knowledge, the false knowledge, and the lies that we have believed that control our lives. What we know, not it doesn't matter whether it's true or not, but
Hmm.
what we know and believe is true uh, determines our expectations, which determines what we see and what we don't see, what we feel and don't feel, hear, don't hear, experience and don't experience.
Hmm.
And I've also told you many, many times that there's nothing I can tell you or anyone else that they don't already know.
Right.
Um, and that's why the things that I say mentally for some people they reject it, but yet something in their heart rings and they don't know what to do with it because something seems true, but yet it's so contrary to what they've learned that they don't know what to do. And I've said for a long time, I discovered years ago that when the New Testament talks about the body of knowledge, um, or excuse me, that talks about knowledge,
Hmm.
and or come on, where it talks about body, the body. Paul talks about the body. What he's
Mm.
referring to is the body of knowledge. It's God has a body of knowledge, and that body of knowledge is true. That um, he knows all that is not true, but it's not part of his body of knowledge. It's not the knowledge out of which he lives, his existence, his beingness.
Okay.
Um, it's just so we've all got a body of knowledge. It's the verse that talks about the body of sin. Okay,
Okay.
the body of
Okay.
sin. Well, as you and I know, that doesn't mean these evil bodies that we live in. It means the body of knowledge of error, because sin, which we're going to get into at some other point, people consider that all the things that they do wrong, the things they think, that feel wrong, whatever. But no, that's not what Paul was talking about. What we're doing, God's God's more interested in what we believe than what we do, because He knows that when we believe the truth like He does, we'll live the truth like He does, and doing wrong will not even be an issue. This is so simple and so easy, and the principle we all live all the time. We
Yep.
can't not live it.
Yep.
Um, and so the, I wanted to build a foundation of the so many incorrect understandings in the Word of God. For instance, hamartia, which is translated sin, But the problem is, as long as you have the right definition for sin, then that would be okay. But it's kind of hard to get there. Um, but in the Greek, and I know that the lexicons, I think I've seen one or two lexicons mention error or error, which is correct. But the overwhelming body of understanding of hamartia is sin and the things that you do wrong. And so, no matter the fact that I tell you what sin, what hamartia really means, you're programmed to hear it another way. So you might even say, "Yeah, I like that," but what we've already learned is going to suck us back into that reality.
Yeah.
And but the fact is, hamartia, the primary meaning and the only meaning that makes sense in the entire Bible and literally has an impact on your life. I mean, the body of sin. What do you do with that? I never knew. Then when God showed me what it really meant, it was like, oh, it's the body of error. That's the body of knowledge I have that isn't true, that I believe is true, and so I'm living it. Oh my God. So if I'm living things that aren't true, that means I'm living lies. That means I'm living in a way that is not consistent with what God knows to be true. But if I knew things, if I knew what God knew to be true or knows to be true the way he knows it, I would automatically be living what I believe, which would be the truth. I mean, it's like, how have we missed this? I don't know, man. But
Yeah.
well, actually, I do know how we've missed it. But that's where I'm at. I wanted to build a foundation of all the words and all the phrases in the New Testament that maybe they can be translated the way they're translated. Often they can't be. They make it up.
Mm.
But maybe it can be translated the way it is translated. But I decided, as I told you previously, that I needed to rethink the faith because it was not working for me. Maybe all of God's promises are working for everyone else the way that God says, but they weren't working for me. So I wanted a new approach, and I just went to God and said, "Teach me. I've got to know what you know the way you know it." And the day I prayed that prayer, it came out of my mouth, and I thought, "Wow, where'd that come from?" Father, I want to know what you know the way you know it. I want to believe what Jesus believes the way he believes it. That, I mean, I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
I want to know what he knows. And the fact is, he wants me and you and everyone else to know what he knows the way he knows it. He's a father. That would be stupid that God would create families and moms and dads who teach their kids and want to teach their kids what they know is true, what they know is right. That'd be crazy that God could create families like that, but that he would be different. That he doesn't want to teach us what he knows. He wants us to know a different body of knowledge so that, and I don't want to get into the rest of that subject at the moment. I've just been, I wanted to begin showing people the massive amount of words that really mean something else. And the fact is that yes, in some cases they can be translated the way they are translated. But as we've talked about in the lexicons just like a regular English dictionary. It's often got definition 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. And so you've got all the theologians, all the translators who decide that a word means something. There may be 5 possible definitions of the word, but everybody has piled on that one definition. And usually, in my opinion, it's because that definition makes the sentence or the verse or the word or whatever say what they think it should say. And so there you go. But what about if God meant definition number 2? Well, that goes against what they believe and want to believe. So it's not even an option. Here is the definition, number 5. That's it. And I began to look and say, man, there's just something wrong here. And I began to see. I started this years ago when a friend of mine named Malcolm said that Jesus used the word Abba and to call it talking about Father. Well, I
Mhm.
went into the Greek, and no, I didn't find any evidence that Jesus had used the word Abba. But as I began to study it, I realized, yeah, the Greek is translated into English, and so Father was the logical choice for the word of pater in not that's in the going too many directions at one time. Um, that pater was the not excuse me that the word father was the right definition when in fact um, Jesus spoke in Hebrew to his father. He was Hebrew, that was his language. But when he spoke in Greek, he wouldn't have used Abba, he would have used father. I believe the Greek word is pater. It's been a while since I looked at it. I
Uh-huh.
just know that I just learned that Jesus used the word Abba, and Paul even referred to that
Mhm.
in Romans.
Mhm.
And so I thought, well, if Jesus would have called Abba Abba, then I'm going to call him Abba. And that's been many, many years ago. He is to me Abba, which encompasses father, daddy, papa, anything that's an affectionate term, or otherwise. The Jews had one word, as I've said, Abba, and
Mhm.
short Ab is short for Abba. And so I just I began to have this craving for a relationship with God that I had been taught was not possible because we were adopted by God.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, he's our father, but it's an adopted father,
Right.
and uh, that just that's the way when anybody hears the word adoption, they think of separation. That
Yeah.
yes, it's if somebody is adopted into a family. There's a union there, but it's not exactly the same because the adopted child doesn't have the same DNA. It's
Mhm.
there's something that just in my own mind when I think of me being adopted by God, yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm made a part of his memory. But then the way some translations say, God could cut me out anytime he wants. So I'm really not, unless I toe the line and do the right things,
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's just one example. The word the word for adoption means to make a son. Now, again, make a son, that could be understood as to adopt. I understand that's how they got there.
Right.
But uh, really and truly, it's more like the way we use in English, where we say, mom and dad say, well, we're going to make a baby.
Right.
Okay. They're
Yeah.
not going to create a baby, they're going to conceive a baby and give birth to that baby.
Right.
And in fact, that's exactly what the New Testament says over and over and over. However, translations do it in such a way that that fact, which is plain in the Greek, is completely missed by everyone. So we don't understand that God didn't adopt us in the way that we understand today, that we were born into God's family because we were born out of God inside Christ. I mean,
Yeah.
this is indisputable unless you just decide to translate the Bible so that it doesn't say that. And that
Right.
what I've just said would probably scare the bedaddle out of a lot of people because all of a sudden it puts them in a situation of, well, who am I? Oh my God. No, I can't be that. I can't. I'm a grasshopper. No, no, I'm a sinner saved by grace. And that's just the mercy of God that he hasn't destroyed me already. No, 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 John, no. Just shut off Campbell, turn off the TV. You
Yeah.
know, for somebody that wants that, Okay, fine, turn off the TV. But some of us, like me, I wanted more. I
Mm.
just, if he's my father, then he's my father. And as I read in the Greek and I saw over and over and over, and I said, why have I always translated it this way? Why does everybody else translate it this way when you could translate it this way? And if you do translate it this way, man, that puts me where I want to be. That puts God where he is. I mean, where what's important, the family connection, the in fact, even John says that we have his DNA. It
Mm.
calls it the seed. The
Mm.
seed, it's sperma. Read it in the Greek, where John in first John in his epistles, he talks about that we have the seed of God. It's God's sperma. That's DNA. And it's like we're born out of him. So we literally right now are other than what we think we are. God isn't other than us. We're other than who we think we are. It doesn't change who we are.
Mm.
We are inside Christ. We are children of God, born out of him in the resurrection. Oh man, can I go places with that? And it's utterly wonderful.